I guess we're finding that to invite people to sit around a table and have dinner together, and then to explore the Gospels, explore the story of Jesus and make connections with our own stories is a very natural thing to do. We're finding that food, home, the fellowship of people that they've already developed friendship with in some shape or form is a very powerful way that people feel comfortable to then explore faith. And that in small numbers, but nevertheless in small numbers, we are finding that people feel comfortable to do that, having made relationship, having built community with people, to then be invited to sit around a table and get the story of Jesus out in such a way that they're connecting with the highs and lows of their own life story of that week is very powerful for people who've come from a non-church background. They're not home groups in the traditional sense, because for many people that is their church, that is their contact with other Christians, the Christian community for that week. And in another sense, it is also missional. I think a lot of home groups have a sort of inward and upward focus. It's about encouraging one another in their faith and an upward direction of exploring the person of God together. But there is a missional dimension to what we do. We're always praying for our non-Christian friends, doing things that provide opportunities for people to invite friends, just to continually reiterating as we explore the Gospels that to be called to be a disciple is to be missional, is to have an outward-looking view towards the world we live in.
When you read this scripture, the stone the builder rejected has become the capstone. The Lord has done this, and it is marvellous in our eyes. And they looked for a way to arrest him. And you entered the vineyard.
I think all of us are infected with the traditional sense that church means Sunday morning, and it's hard for us to get away from that. And in fact, people outside of the church still kind of have this residual sense that church means going to church on a Sunday morning. We are continuing to wrestle with that. We do run church on a Sunday morning, particularly because we have children. We do church in a very informal, participative way, very low resource, trying to do it simply so it doesn't take a lot of time and energy. But nevertheless, there is a tension between the Sunday event church to which people gather and the home-based church, which we want to affirm as just as important and just as much church. But we're still wrestling with that. I think it's a tension in terms of time and resources, and will continue to be. It's a constant tension to keep church missional and keep that house-based church missional. We need to continue to find time and space to encourage people to look outwards to the relationships that they have with their family, their friends, their work colleagues, so on and so forth, and continue to disciple people in such a way that they recognise in the story of Jesus' discipling of his own disciples that to be a disciple means to be missional. To be a disciple means to be sent. To be a disciple means to have an outward-looking view of the world. To live life for others rather than just for ourselves. That's a very countercultural thing to teach people in this very individualistic world that we live in. So partly it's about discipleship, and partly it's about creating space and time deliberately within the structures and programs that we have, so that people look outwardly. We have one Sunday a month where we go and do something in the community. We clean the beach quite often because we live right by the sea, and we always try and do that with others. And we have a number of people who feel like they're part of our community, even though they don't come to worship, because once a month they come and clean the beach or do something very practical like that. So that's one example where you can create time and space in the structure of your communal life for others, and I think we need to continue to explore how to do that.
We aren't our tenants of the vineyard.
Uh-oh.
I think what we have within those small groups is a place where people can share very honestly where their life has been over that past week. And that's one thing that's very difficult to achieve in big church. You can go to a Sunday congregation, slip in at the back, slip away, that's an advantage in some ways. But if we're to disciple people need to start, I think, being encouraged to make the connections between the gospel and the highs and lows of their lives, and that's what we're trying to do around the table with the small groups that we have. Obviously, what we lack is the big gathering that feels exciting, can feel very uplifting, the kind of cathedral dimension of church, if you like. But I think that you can find that in other ways. I think there's no reason within the mixed economy of church that we have that we can't encourage people to go along to the bigger church once in a while, alongside the small group experience that they have. But in terms of discipleship, in terms of people actually week by week asking the question of what does it mean to be a follower of Jesus in my workplace, in my street, amongst my family and friends, that small group where people have the opportunity to participate and talk very honestly and openly about their lives with the gospel open in front of them, making those connections, is incredibly powerful. I think one of the potential futures for the church is small and many rather than large and few. The small group has the potential to multiply and to morph into lots of different contexts. That very simple church that doesn't require lots of funding and lots of training therefore has the potential to incarnate itself into lots of different contexts. It doesn't have to be a particular time or a particular place. You don't have to have a building. The buildings are already there, people are already there, you just need a simple way of gathering people. I can't see any reason why that can't multiply into so many different contexts and very powerfully and very quickly. We see that in parts of the Far East. Small units of church multiplying very quickly with a missional DNA and a simple leadership and a simple way of doing church can multiply rapidly and gather people very quickly. Whether we'll see that in this country, it's a different culture. I don't know. We are beginning to see that as an authentic way of doing church, a simple way of doing church, and a way of church that can morph into different contexts very simply and very easily.